Alicia. She said something about our mistakes shouldn't have to follow us.
Oh my god, the dialogue is so bad. And unfortunately, that kind of dialogue is prevalent throughout this entire episode. I didn't like this episode one bit. So, let's get to talking about it. Spoilers as per usual, though there's not really a lot that happened during this episode, but let's begin. This was a pretty dire installment of The World Beyond, and now I'm kind of doubting whether episode 1 and 2 were just as bad, and maybe I just didn't want to see it and was just trying to be positive about the show because it's a new show, and because I saw some people slating the show last week for reasons which I didn't really think were relevant and I didn't think were practical reasons to complain about a show. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And maybe that might have impacted my view somewhat and made me try and be more positive about it, when in reality it's bad, and it has been bad from the start. I have a lot of issues with this installment. I mean, as you can guess from the opening, dialogue is one of the problems I have. The dialogue in this episode is cliche, and it's typical Gimple dialogue with people talking in riddles and not talking how people actually talk to one another. Also, just look at the episode descriptions for episode 2 and 3 on Amazon. They're almost identical. Both talk about a character having to deal with their past or facing their past, and yeah, it's just really formulaic storytelling now. I mean, we've had 3 episodes in a row in which there's been flashbacks. Episode 1 had flashbacks to Iris and Hope's past, episode 2 had Felix's past, and now we've got Silas's. I mean, I bet there'd be low odds on the next installment having flashbacks of Elton and the description of the episode saying Elton has to face his past demons or some bullshit like that. I mean, come on, we're 3 episodes in and it's already this predictable. It's just starting to remind me of the awful flashback-laden Fear the Walking Dead Season 4A, which had flashbacks throughout and then had flashbacks within flashbacks because there were just so many bloody flashbacks, and it just stunk to me as really poor storytelling and writers who don't know how to write a decent script. And I'm getting that feeling again. Now, I don't have an issue with flashbacks as a concept. You can use them if you use them sparingly or if it suits the purpose of the show. So, for example, Westworld Season 1 has a lot of different timelines and flashbacks, but that's kind of the point of the show. You're supposed to piece it all together. But when you just have flashbacks just to substitute a method of telling a story, it does start to seem really cheap. And, you know, there are better ways of telling stuff than just having flashbacks all the time. Have a character talk about their past, or have a character from the past come up, or just something instead of, oh, yeah, he's walked into this area and it's reminded him of something, so here's a flashback. And the worst thing about the Silas flashbacks is that, unlike the Felix flashbacks which we had last week, which were sort of simple and to the point, and I understood what his backstory was and understood a bit more about him as his character, I didn't get any of that from Silas's. I mean, one of the flashbacks, there is a little scene of him doing something bad and attacking someone, but we don't see much of that. And apart from that, he just spends the rest of his time in the flashbacks at the university campus just being a bit of a loner, not wanting to talk to anyone, people sort of being a bit wary of him and making fun of him. And that's it. I don't really learn anything more about his character apart from the fact that he was a bit of a loner and just a bit odd. Fascinating. What was the point? I didn't watch these flashbacks and think, oh, now I like him, and I didn't feel any more connection to him. I just felt a bit confused and like, oh, great, so he was a bit of an odd kid. Who cares? Just because of that, that doesn't mean I'm instantly going to feel sorry for him and like him. I don't really have a reason to yet. Yeah, I don't know, maybe people did take to him and like him, but for me it just felt a bit bizarre. It's just kind of like, well, this hasn't really showed me anything more about his character. It just feels like filler. I mean, it doesn't help that in the present, Silas is suffering from the same disease that Alicia had in Fear the Walking Dead, I believe, last season, when she refused to kill walkers, and that's also what he's doing, and that just makes me dislike him. You know, even if the flashbacks did make me feel for him as a character, the fact that he's flat out refusing to kill walkers, it's just irritating to me. It was irritating when Alicia did it. It was irritating on the main show when Tyrese was saying, oh, I don't like killing them and I can't do it. I get it, no one likes doing it, but you have to. And I have no sympathy for characters who just say, nope, I'm not doing it. Because it makes you a liability to the rest of the group. People then have to save you and have to kill the walkers because you're not pulling your weight. So for Silas to just say, nope, I'm not killing the walkers, I'm not doing it, I was just like, you know what, fuck you, man. If that's how you're going to be, fine. Don't kill walkers, get eaten, I don't care. I don't care. I can understand if you're inexperienced and you're not very good at dealing with the walkers like Iris and Hope are, but at least they try. To just flat out say, no, I'm not doing it, just fuck off, man. It just irritates me. And sadly, that's not even the most annoying thing about this episode to me. The title of the episode is pretentious and irritating. It references two opposing poems, and the poem The Tyger is read out by Iris when the group are fighting walkers. Well, she voiceovers the poem like a slow-mo scene of them fighting walkers in some bizarre attempt to make this show seem arty and that it has some kind of deeper meaning. And it just smacks of classic Scott Gimple. I know he didn't write this episode, but it reminds me of his ideas and trying to think he's more clever than he actually is. And yeah, it's just a dumb zombie show. Why is the character reading out poetry whilst they're fighting walkers? No, just don't do it. Now, I have actually done some research on this poem after the episode to try and find out what this all means. So strap yourselves in, because you're going to learn some poetry with me, your teacher, Mr. Horn. Yes, that is my last name, and yes, I know there's an E on the end of Horn. Ha ha ha, Mr. Horny, ha ha ha. I've heard that so many times, so shut up, Daniel. I don't even know who Daniel is, but anyway, yeah, shut up, Daniel, and learn your poetry with me, your teacher. Alright, you ready? Let's do this. So this episode is called The Tyger and the Lamb. The Tyger and the Lamb are a pair of opposing poems which I totally knew and did not have to find that information out on Wikipedia at all. Here is a screenshot of the poem The Tyger, and here are some of its supposed meanings and themes. Now the big question here, my children, is what do you think the Tyger means? Let me know in the comments below. If you don't give me an answer and if you don't do your homework, you will be blocked from this channel and you won't be able to go play outside next week. Although you probably shouldn't be because of COVID. But anyway, you won't be able to play with your friends if you don't give me an answer. Now, I actually went out of my way to watch a 17-minute analysis video on this poem because I clearly have no life. And the video is actually more entertaining than the episode itself. And this video was made by a Mrs. Rumsey, who, like me, is another very good English teacher. So if you wish to find out more, please click on the link to a video in the description below. So what I can gather from Mrs. Rumsey's video is that the tiger in the poem The Tyger can be seen as a metaphor for the nature of humans, the nature of humanity. So think of the tiger, think of this vicious tiger as humans, as what we are, what we're capable of, and you know, the horrible things that humans can do, basically. And she also says that the poem is about questioning the nature of God. What kind of God would create a being as ferocious as a tiger, a being capable of ripping people apart and eating people and doing such horrible things? So it's the author trying to question whether God does exist, and if he does, why does he allow such horrible things to happen, basically, and why do such killing machines exist? On the other hand, the poem The Lamb is about opposing ideas, and it's about the beauty in human nature and the beauty in the natural world, that sort of thing. So it's just the polar opposite to the poem The Tyger, and that's why they both go together. So as the intellectual genius English teacher that I am, I of course understand the meaning behind the episode's title, or at least I think I do now anyway. So I think I understand what the show was trying to do with Iris reading out the poem when the zombie attack was taking place. It was trying to show the contrasting nature between the tiger, or the zombies, and humanity and the world around it. And to go back to what I said about questioning about God, again, it's kind of questioning, well, what kind of God would create the walkers? What kind of God would create such a horrible beast as the walkers? So in layman's terms, the tiger is the undead and all the bad things that happen in the world, whereas the lamb is its natural beauty and those trying to survive and do good. And it could even be that the lamb in this instance is the gentle giant Silas who doesn't want to harm anyone or anything. And it seems like Silas is the religious type because we see him listening to Bible verses on his headset, and perhaps he's having some kind of crisis in which he's questioning whether God does exist and why a God would have such violent acts and have the walkers appear on Earth and that kind of thing. And that, my children, concludes today's brief poetry lesson. I hope you've learnt something new, and please make sure to hand in your homework before next week's video. Alright, enough of that. I fucking hate poetry. I mean, I've got nothing against poets, but it was never my thing in school. I hate the fact that everything in poems is left up to interpretation, and teachers will often say, oh, he's written down this because it symbolises that, and then I would always think, well, no, how do you know that? How are you where are you getting that from? It could mean something else entirely. So, I'm not that way inclined. I don't care about poetry. I don't care, about arts or paintings or that kind of stuff. So, for me to have the episode reference these poems and try and think it was being really philosophical and highbrow, and I just don't think it's a good idea. For me, The Well Beyond's just a dumb zombie show. That's The Walking Dead in a nutshell. It's a show about zombies. If I wanted to see characters having an existential crisis, I can't even say the word, I'd watch Westworld, in which they're questioning the nature of human reality and what it means to be a human if they're alive, blah, blah, blah. So for The Well Beyond to have poetry and have characters reading it out, it just seems a bit above its means, is that the right term? But you know what I mean? It just seems like, it's aiming too high intellectually, and it just comes off as being really pretentious, and it just doesn't fit in with the show, to be honest. I only know now what this poem means, and I'm only aware of this poem existing because I went out of my way to look it up. I did not know what the relevance was of her reading this poem out previously. And I doubt 99.9% of the audience will either. Most of them will just watch this and think, well, this is a cringy scene in which a character is reading out a poem for no reason. And even after finding out its meaning, I still think it's incredibly cringeworthy, and I don't think it worked at all. So, I don't like this. I mean, let me know if you do. To me, it just seemed like the writers were looking for an excuse to put something from their English university lectures in the script so then they could justify the fact that they spent 3 years of their life studying for a pointless degree. Wow, that was really bitchy, wasn't it? I didn't mean that, by the way. It was a joke. If you do have an English degree, congratulations, because I couldn't do it. I mean, maybe I could now, but I sucked at English in secondary school. It just didn't interest me, and I think that was down to the teachers, and I just didn't find what they were teaching interesting, and as such, my English sort of literature and language was fucking shocking. So it's only through YouTube and whatnot, and having to write and learning to write and liking it, that I've actually improved. So, I don't know where I'm going incredibly off topic now, but the point is, it's a joke. If you have a degree in anything, congratulations, because I went to uni and dropped out. So there's a few more things that pissed me off with this episode. The first being is that it started in exactly the same way as I said it would last week. Hope running away, and then Iris and Silas and Elton all waking up and not knowing where she was and having to panic and be in a rush because she had just run off without them. Like I said last week, if Hope was adamant that she had to go and sound the alarms, just tell them. Don't do it whilst they're asleep. It's just stupid. It's dumb decision making. Why do young adults and kids on all the Walking Dead shows act like such morons? I mean, Judith is the only one who I actually like at present. I mean, think of the kids we had in Fear the Walking Dead who they found, was it season 5 when they crashed the plane and found the kids? They were so bloody annoying. Charlie's irritating. The young adults in this show are annoying, and if you look at the history of the kids on The Walking Dead, the majority of them are annoying as well. So, AMC, can you please hire some writers who have children or who can write children so that they aren't irritating? I mean, I get it, kids are annoying, they do stupid things, but when I'm watching a show, I want to like the people. I don't want to dislike them because they're acting like morons. And what also annoyed me is that Iris and Hope talk about this on the radio, and they have a joke about it. Iris puts her finger up to Hope over the radio, and they're like, "Oh, you're putting your finger up to me, aren't you? Ha ha ha." And I'm just like, she's ran off in the middle of the night, didn't even tell you, and you're just laughing about it. If that was me, I'd be furious. I'd be saying, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, let's try and talk about some of the positives from this episode. Felix and Huck actually, is it Huck or Hux? I think it's Huck. Felix and Huck actually catch up with the group and meet them, and that's something that I didn't expect because The Walking Dead, in all its shows, likes to keep the cast separate, and I think they probably do that so then they can make episodes focus on different people and sort of stretch out storylines. So I was expecting them to be following this group for longer, so the fact that they met up was actually a pleasant surprise. I also think that Felix and Huck are the two best characters on this show at present, even though I don't know much about Huck because we haven't learned about her, but they both seem competent, they know what they're doing, they can deal with walkers, they act like normal people, they don't have dumb dialogue. And although it's nice that I like these characters, I'm not sure that's good long term because the show is obviously supposed to be about the 4 young adults and about them finding their place in the world and going on this trip, blah blah blah. But the fact that I like the 2 adults a lot more than them, I don't think that's really good. I mean, it's good that I like these characters, but I think that I should really be liking the 4 younger cast members. I think they're the ones who we're supposed to like, yet I don't really care about them. At least Hope and Iris did kill a walker this week. That is an improvement. Like I said last week, they were shocking at dealing with walkers, and I do understand that because they've never come across them before, so it might be a bit irritating to watch, but I am patient with them in that respect. And yeah, I'm glad they killed a walker, and hopefully they keep getting better in combat situations. Elizabeth, the British CRM colonel, makes an appearance at the end of the episode, and I'm glad that she showed up and answered some of the questions that we had in episode 1, and it's confirmed that she did kill the university campus group. And yeah, I think she's a terrifying villain. She sends one of the guy who was with her, she sends him off to like a re-education place, which is obviously parallels to real life, what we've had with Nazi camps and re-education centres in North Korea and whatever. So yeah, she's obviously like some kind of fascist dictator by the looks of it, or she runs the place like a dictator. I mean, yeah, she is a decent villain, but I don't really understand her motivations. They don't really make sense to me. I mean, she says that she just had to kill this university campus because they were going to, or they would eventually become a threat. But there were 10,000 people on the campus. They weren't particularly stocked up on weapons. None of them knew how to fight because they're all behind the walls. And Elizabeth says in this episode that she has 200,000 people where she is. So why would 10,000 people in a university campus who don't even know the location of Elizabeth and where her main camp is, these people don't have weapons or any training, why would they ever pose a threat to her? It doesn't make any sense. It just seems like a dumb explanation as to why people were killed in the first episode. It just seems like a dumb way to justify that twist. Of course, there's the possibility that she could be lying. Maybe she just said that as justification for what she did. But again, yeah, it's an odd decision to kill an entire campus of 10,000 people because you're a bit scared that they might become a threat. So, but who knows? Maybe she is just paranoid and maybe that is her reason. But I kind of find it a bit annoying at present. Also, this is entirely unfair as a criticism, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've lived in England for all the 29 years of my life, and I have never seen an English person display an English flag in their home, let alone a British one. And she has a British flag on the wall. Now, maybe she has that up there because she was a member of the British Army, or maybe she is reminiscing about the UK and is annoyed that she's stuck in the USA and she can't go back due to the apocalypse. And I mean, why wouldn't she be, really? That was a joke. I know my subscribers are mostly American. Please don't kill me. But yeah, as an Englishman, we're not really the flag-waving type, or at least my generation aren't anyway. So yeah, I've never seen an English flag in anyone's home. I've certainly never seen a British one. So that just came off as a bit strange. It's not a serious complaint, but it's just something that I was kind of like, oh, yeah, it's got a flag on the wall. That's not normal. That's not what we do. So there you go. So that's The World Beyond episode 3. I didn't really like it. I mean, in terms of plot, all that basically happened was the group escaped from the place they were stuck last week, and it took 45 minutes to do that. And yeah, there's not really much in terms of plot, which is why you can understand why I spent 5 minutes on this video analysing poetry, because there's not a lot else to talk about. So yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was bad. If I wasn't reviewing it, in my honest opinion, I would have given up by now, because these 3 episodes haven't been good enough. There's not been anything that's really made me want to keep watching, apart from the CRM links and the Elizabeth and what her deal is and all that. But even that I don't think is enough to keep me watching. But I will carry on because, it's The Walking Dead, and I want to review all the Walking Dead stuff on my channel, even if I don't particularly enjoy it. So yeah, fingers crossed things do get better, but all 3 episodes have had a similar style of writing and approach to them, so I don't think things are going to change personally, but we'll see how it goes. So there's my review on season 3, episode 3 of The World Beyond. Let me know your thoughts below. Do you think I'm being too harsh with this episode? In which case, please let me know. Or do you think that I'm right and that maybe I've been a bit too lenient in my first 2 reviews? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know below. And I'll see you all next week to review the show again. Let's hope we have some more poetry lessons next week. At least I learnt something from the episode. That's a plus, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, take care. See you next time. Bye.